Hey, how's it going out there, hunters? At this point, the 12 Days of Treasure has concluded, and we have our winner. This is the official walkthrough of 12 Days of Treasure, presented by Nobody. On the screen is a map provided by the state of Massachusetts, and on the map, you can see that there are 39 cities and 312 towns, comprising of the 351 municipalities that the treasure may have been found in. While you can find the list of cities and towns on the Secretary of State's website, another resource that can be used is Wikipedia. Yes, it's true that it can be edited, but you can also see the edit history on Wikipedia. And if you look at the snippet of a table here, where it shows the first 6 in alphabetical order and then the last 5 in alphabetical order, it shows us our 351 cities and towns, as well as populations as of the 2020 census, some total area and land area information, and the year the city or town was established. That comes into play later. Here is the list of all 351 cities and towns that the treasure could have been hidden in. The day 1 puzzle was a simple word search. On the right hand side you can see where all 30 cities or towns were hidden in the left hand side puzzle. You'll note that the remaining green circles of the squares not used spells out, "Nobody thanks you for your time spent to solve this word search. Good luck on the rest of the hunt." And in the middle of the screen, you see the 30 cities and towns that we have removed from potential candidates on where the treasure would have been hidden. Also, in the top right of the file, there's a random S. We'll come back to that later. So here is the elimination list after day 1, with 321 cities or towns left in play. Day 2, red light, green light. Day 2 was designed to be a step up from day 1, while still being a pretty easy solve. At face value, we know we need to answer 19 questions, and that the answers begin with either red or green. Once we've filled in the blanks, we can take a look at the letters we have circled in yellow. On their own, they are not an anagram or a cipher. So what do we do with them? When we take a look back at the top of the page, we see a yellow circle that appears to be able to slide either left or right, or to red or green. If your answer to the question began with green, you shifted the yellow space to the right to get a new letter. If your answer to the question began with red, you shifted it to the left to get your new letter. Once we've made the appropriate shifts, we can see that our yellow letters, now red or green, from bottom to top read no cardinal direction. And that random D in the top right, well, we're saving that for later still. Here's what the elimination list looks like after day 2, with 286 towns still in play. Day 3 was a video clue. You'll notice at the end of the video, there was a clue on how to solve this one. There were 3 flashing coins spinning at the bottom of the screen. If you rewatch the video, you'll notice that the coins in the top of the screen change in chronological order as listed below. When you do a simple A1Z26 cipher, it spells out ignore fields, and the cities and towns listed in the middle are the ones that we eliminate. After day 3, we eliminate those 16 towns, and there's 270 cities or towns left in play. Day 4, planets. Reading the sun, we see it talks about the planet shifting, which is our clue that this is a simple Caesar cipher, or rather, a cluster of them. Each planet's encoded text can be decrypted by shifting the letters by the number of the planet they're on. For example, Mercury's message needs only be shifted by 1, while Pluto's is shifted by 9. The exception was Venus, which is a -2, because Venus spins backwards compared to all the other planets. Once we've decoded the planets, we are asked, what people experience this pagan festival that celebrates our 6th as the mighty god of agriculture? Catalyst called it the best of days. Breaking this down, our sixth refers to our sixth planet. A quick Google search will tell you that our sixth planet, Saturn, is known to some as the god of agriculture, and that Saturnalia, which was celebrated by the Romans, was indeed referred to as the best of days by someone named Catullus. The Sun also mentions that once we have our answers to this question, it should help us with the rest of the puzzle. In the bottom right corner, you have what appears to be a book cipher. It isn't. When we realize the first number only goes as high as 9, we can assume we're indexing off our planets. 714 means the 14th letter on the 7th planet, and so on. Once we've completed our index, we have discard pop less than MD per MMXX census. Knowing it was the Romans who celebrated Saturnalia clues us in that MD is 1500 and MMXX is 2020 in Roman numerals. So at this point, the message says discard population less than 1500 per 2020 census. At the end of day 4, we remove those 34 cities and towns, and we're left with 236 potential cities and towns where the treasure could still be. Day 5 was another word search. The 30 cities and towns that are found are circled in red and listed in the middle of the screen. But you'll notice the message is different this time. The remaining green letters spell out a very important part of the day 6 cipher. It gives you the keyword supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. When we remove the 30 cities and towns from the day 5 word search, we're left with 206 cities and towns left in play. The day 6 cipher was actually very simple if you found the secret message in the day 5 puzzle. Also, in very tiny letters in the ornaments up top, it spells out Vignir. We also continue to have the hidden letters in the top right of the PDF files. For this one, reading left to right, top to bottom, and plugging them in against the keyword supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, we can spell out all of the towns listed in the middle of the screen. When we remove the 38 cities and towns from the Vignir cipher, we're left with 168 cities and towns left in play. Day 7 is when things start to heat up. The first thing you'll notice are that the seat numbers can all be rearranged to be numbered 1 through 13. If we rearrange the tickets and use the first letter of each city's name, for example, Nairobi, we can spell out, nah, this ain't it. Keeping the tickets arranged 1 to 13 by seat, we can then shift the first letter of the country name by the row number. That's why this was listed as -12 instead of 14. When you do that against the country name of each flag, you get nothing. So the next obvious thing to try would be then to just Google Translate each of the various phrases in each of the various languages. And kept in the seat 1 to 13 order. If you think that is the correct method, you're incorrect. Sorry, everything you need is in the background of this puzzle. Goodbye. And in fact, that's true. Hidden in the background is Morse code. The airplanes are simply the word breaks. So when we do a Morse translation, we get this text here, which at first glance just looks like it could be another cipher. But since we already used Google Translate, We throw it through Google Translate one more time, and we get some plain text English. I am the secret background text. The municipality you were looking for was created before 1700 or after 1760. Language is interesting. It's also fun to distract you from solving this puzzle. Is there anything more to find, or have you got it all? So, looking at the years that cities and towns were founded, we can eliminate the cities and towns listed at the top and right of this page. After we remove those 41 cities and towns, we're down to just 127 after day 7. Day 8, Red Herring Soup. This puzzle was really fun to make. We have 10 bowls of alphabet soup and a doggy bag with a QR on it. The little bit of text we're given implies there will be leftover letters, which will allow us to access the QR. But to find those, let's figure out what our bowls say. Starting with the one that has the fewest letters, we notice there are 2 crackers in the soup. This means these letters will give us 2 words. We're pretty quickly able to figure out ice skating, which leaves us with a leftover I. Players discovered that after anagramming the 2 to 3 holiday and winter themed phrases, they were left with a single letter left over from each. Those leftover letters combined to spell red herring, which was the password to the QR. Now we're getting somewhere. We've opened our gift box to find a scrap of paper with "your" written at the top, as well as a trivia question and another QR. Classic box within a box gag gift. As players moved through and correctly answered their trivia questions, they revealed a new piece of their clue for elimination, finally resulting in your city-town has less than 1.6 square miles of water. We mentioned players may need to do a bit of simple math here. If you used Wikipedia, like shown on the second slide, you could subtract the total land miles from the total square miles from your remaining cities and towns to determine your answer. And before we head off to the next puzzle, we want to make sure to take note of that random letter in the top right that we know will come into play later, the letter T. When we remove those 42 cities and towns based on the amount of water they have, we're down to 85 remaining cities or towns where the treasure could have been hidden. Day 9 is our first robot puzzle. The key here was his wires were soaked in pine sap, and there was still pine sap in his circuit board. This was a clue to look up different pine trees. You'll note that each of the common name words, Jack, Korean, red, Turkish, etc., are all common names for different pine trees. You can easily find their scientific name on Google, and using the index at the bottom in order, you can pull out the letters from their scientific name. So for example, Jack 9 is K, Korean 11 is E, red 7 is also an E, and Turkish 1 is P. Keep the odd lettered cities or towns. So at this point, we're going to remove any city or town length that is even. And you can see those cities and towns listed in the middle of the screen. When we remove those even length cities and towns, all 46 of them, we're down to just 39 cities or towns where the treasure could have been hidden in. Day 10, the second robot puzzle. The first part is just a simple substitution cipher. We give you exactly what you need to substitute with. H becomes B, A becomes E, A becomes E, and dash becomes P, etc., etc. You get beep boop 47. This is a hint that we're doing a skip cipher with a skip of 47. So, for the second part, we're going to start with the first letter, and then we're going to skip 47 to get this E here, and we're going to skip 47 to get this E here, and we're going to skip 47 to get this P here, etc., etc. You're just going to keep reading left to right, top to bottom, and when you get to the end, start back over at the top. Spells out beep boop beep boop. Final location is in a town or city that ends with a certain letter. Keep going, you'll find out which. And then the message gets a little jumbled, where there's numbers hidden inside of his robot speak, and then beep boop. If we do a simple A1Z26 against those red numbers I put up here, it gives us this riddle. It is the first of day and can be found inside, but more so indeed. And at that point we know we're keeping the cities or towns that end with the letter D, and we remove the remaining towns that are listed in the middle of the screen. Those 31 cities and towns from the previous slide, we're down to just 8 cities or towns where the treasure could be located at the end of day 10. They're listed here. Day 11, Bacon. Here we have a snow globe with a message. The wording seems a little off, but let's come back to that. So what creature was Mrs. Emily Cratchit in Jim Henson's Muppets Christmas Carol? She was played by none other than Miss Piggy, of course. This is our clue that we're dealing with a bacon cipher. Once we know what we're looking at, there's a few obvious pieces to try first. The light blue versus dark blue can be decoded to A is 1, B is 2, etc. The lines along the snow globe's base decode to, did you find the bolds too? The bold, not bolds, letters decode to how else can we try? The final bit of bacon was tricky, and by far the hardest to pull off. The odd wording and typos in the body of the text were deliberate, as our final bacon cipher used consonants and vowels to encode the message. 2 LTTR, 1's keep. LTTR, of course, being letter, and as the light and dark blue so kindly pointed out, A is 1. So we know if the city or town has 2 letter A's, we should keep it and discard those that do not. And of course, our final top right letter we should keep. At the end of day 11, we're left with just 3 towns: Ashland, Maynard, and Wayland. One of these 3 are going to hold the treasure. The day 12 puzzle was another video clue. The links are provided at the top left. Did you also notice that there were characters in the top right of each of the PDF puzzles? It's simply backwards for what 3 words? That's going to come into play here. In the first part of the audio clue, December really is very exciting. We're hunting elusive relics, explore near one historic old road, maybe it's near Ninja, and maybe elements. Just look at the first letter of those. It's a simple acrostic. Drive where no H or M in name. Ashland and Maynard have an H and an M. Treasure's not in those towns. One historic old road. Boston Post Road. Near Elements or Ninja. We're looking at Wayland. When we remove those 2 towns, we're left with Wayland. For the second part of the clue, I hope you picked up on what 3 words. Hope you're close by. Good luck. Paddocks, balcony, combine. When you plug those 3 words into what 3 words, it gives you a location, and you're going to be within feet of the treasure. Sure enough, when you go to that spot, you see this little bush that's starting to grow out of the old rail, and behind a rock, you can see the soup can was hidden right under that rail, right under that bush. Thanks again for playing, and we hope to see you in 2023 at our next hunt.